Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back here to another weather update, my friends. My name is Andrew Heichman. Now, for today, we got ourselves a lot of things that we do need to be going over here. First of all, we have a tornado threat for today, a risk for severe weather in Florida. We'll definitely be going over that, as well as there is a storm system I've been keeping my eyes on here for early March. While it is still several days out, there has been a lot of agreement lately between the GFS, the Euro, and some of the other models, so we'll definitely be keeping an eye out there for that, as it could cause some problems with snowfall, perhaps maybe even some severe weather for early March, so we'll definitely be talking about that. Now, there's a lot of other things that we will be getting into. Now, guys, if you have not already, consider leaving a like, hitting that subscribe button. It would be greatly appreciated. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get on into it. So, taking a look at the radar, my friends, we got ourselves a bit of activity here this morning. Across the southeast, we have this rain system that is kicking off here across Florida. This system will actually become quite the cyclone as it does track its way here into the Atlantic. We'll look at that more whenever we do get to the models, but overall, a pretty good amount of rainfall. We do actually have a little threat for flooding across the southeastern coast of Florida for some of the areas out there by like Miami and Fort Lauderdale, which we'll get into here in a moment as well. We have ourselves a bit of a disturbance up in the northern side of the country, up in the northern plains for like North and South Dakota, as we do have a little bit of rainfall working its way through the region out here as well. And in the Pacific Northwest, we got ourselves a system that is starting to roll through, driving potential for heavy snowfall in those upper elevations, as well as a bit of rainfall in the lower elevations, which could also lead to some heavy flooding in some spots. So the good news for them, or first of all, the bad news for them is that they've been seeing system after system out here. This is really going to be the last system for a couple of days, which is good, meaning that this is just going to be the last one that we have to deal with here for a little bit. But once again, threat for upper level snowfall, potentially heavy, as well as a lot of that lower level rainfall, which will lead to a bit of a flooding concern. Working our way over here into the rainfall accumulation side of things, my friends, here, starting off in the southeastern U.S. out here by Florida. So this is the expected amount of rainfall from 7 a.m. this morning until 3 days from now. So this does not really take into consideration the rain that has already fallen here earlier prior to 7 a.m. Anyways, with that being said, across central southern Florida, we are still expecting a pretty good amount of rainfall out there. You know, a good maybe inch and a half for some of you folks. Like we mentioned, we do have a flooding threat out here by areas like Miami and Fort Lauderdale, so keep an eye out there for that, as there could be some mild flooding for some of those populated areas out there. But generally speaking, a pretty good amount of rainfall with this system is expected for areas here in Florida, so keep an eye out there for that, as once again, some flooding could be possible in the southeastern side. And once again, we do have that active severe weather threat, which we'll get into here in a few moments. Working our way over here into the Pacific Northwest, my friends, we got ourselves a lot of precipitation with the system that is set to roll through, that is starting to as we currently speak. So up here in those upper elevations, we will be seeing several inches of rainfall, and for the highest peaks, we will be seeing a good amount of snowfall, potentially well over a couple of feet, as we will be looking at here in a few moments. But a lot of precipitation is expected for areas of Oregon and Washington State. Out there by coastal Washington and coastal Oregon, there will be some spots where we could be seeing maybe 3, maybe 4 inches or more, which will definitely lead to that flooding threat that we do have in effect for some of those regions. Now, regarding these snowfall accumulations here from the National Weather Service, as you guys can see, a lot of those upper elevations of both Oregon and Washington State, like we were talking about, has the potential for a lot of snowfall. Now, where you kind of see this yellowish white color, that is where we potentially could be seeing a good maybe 3, maybe 4 foot or so of snowfall for those upper elevations. Locally, you know, could be quite possible. Basically, where you do see this maroon color is where we do have basically over 12 inches. So, for a lot of those upper elevations, we will be well over a foot, perhaps several feet in some of those upper elevations out there. So, if you guys somehow are up in those upper elevations for Washington and Oregon, just please keep in mind that there is going to be a lot of snowfall out there. Alrighty, guys, so working our way over here into the active severe weather threat here for today. Actually, we have 2 areas where severe weather will be possible. The first area out there by southern Florida, including areas out by Miami and whatnot. Fort Lauderdale could be dealing with a bit of severe weather. Now, something I just noticed is that actually in southeastern Washington State, northeastern Oregon, and a little sliver of Idaho, we also do have a marginal level 1 severe weather risk here for today across some of those regions here. Now, tornadic activity activity will not be a concern for the Pacific Northwest. However, southern Florida out there by the Keys, basically towards out there, for some of those regions by the Everglades, once again, Miami, Fort Lauderdale area, is in a little tornado threat. So a couple of tornadoes, a tornado or two could be possible out there today. So keep that there in mind. Now, in terms of damaging winds, both areas also are in the 5% risk here for damaging wind gusts with some of those storms, which could get up to right around 60 miles an hour or so. And in terms of hail, for both areas, we are not expecting really any form of hail threat. So for both areas, wind is a concern, potentially up to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. And like we mentioned, just for southern Florida, we do have that tornado risk for, an isolated tornado or two being possible. Now, for tomorrow, we do not have any form of thunderstorm activity expected here, which is definitely good news here for Tuesday. Working away into Wednesday, same thing. No thunderstorms are expected. And here in the long range here regarding the long range for severe weather, we do not have any forms of active severe weather as of now. So really today is the only day for the next 8 days where severe weather is expected. So keep it out there for that. Once again, a couple of tornadoes can't be ruled out for today, as well as some damaging wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour will be possible. Alrighty guys, working our way over here into the future radar here over the next couple of days. Now, in the Pacific Northwest, we are watching this storm system here that will be battering the coastal areas here of Washington and Oregon with some really strong winds, which we'll get into here in a few moments. We will definitely be talking a lot of strong winds, a lot of heavy snow in those upper elevations as we were talking about, and a lot of rainfall. Overall, the Pacific Northwest is getting absolutely hammered here with this storm system out there. In the south, we have all of this rain that will be working its way out here into the Atlantic, which this storm system will actually become quite the cyclone as we do work our way further down in time, which we'll look at more whenever we dive more into those models here overall. But, over the next couple of days here, most of the country is going to be relatively quiet. We do have ourselves a little bit of rainfall here pretty much for the 26th. Overall, that will be kicking its way off across some of the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, which will be driving a little bit of precipitation, but honestly not really expecting anything out there. We were looking at that potential for thunderstorm activity, but it does seem like that line has died down a little bit to where, a lot of the models are now suggesting otherwise, where there will not likely be any thunderstorm activity. But still will be a little bit of rainfall rolling through some of those regions out there, as we do have this air mass that rolls through, driving a little bit of air from up north down here into those regions out there. Okay, so now we're rolling away over here into the extended range forecast. Now we're going to talk about that storm system, how I was mentioning in the beginning of the video, where it could become a problem for early March. There has been a lot of agreement lately here. So looking at the GFS model, we work our way down in time here. First of all, there's that cyclone I was telling you guys about with all that rain that's currently falling over Florida. That will be working its way out here into the Atlantic, which we'll talk more about that here in a few moments. But what I really want you guys to look at here is as we work our way here into early March, we get ourselves a low pressure system here right around March 4th. Now, yes, this is still several days out, and you know me, I don't really like to look too far out in the models, but there is a lot of agreement here, not just between different models, but over the last several model runs. So as we approach our way here in towards March 5th, you guys can kind of see this really strong storm system that will be kicking its way off here across the Midwest and the Central Plains. Could have a trailing cold front on it, more than likely, driving maybe some severe weather and perhaps maybe even a bit of winter weather on the northern side. A classic system here for severe weather and potential snowfall. Now, we're still not entirely too sure exactly the impacts and where those impacts will be, considering that, we are still a couple of days out, of course, but if we backtrack to the model before this, the model run, you can see that, so every time the frame changes, this is a different model run, you can see that the last several consistent models have been talking about this storm system here over and over again. So there is a lot of agreement here in the models for the last several runs. As you can see, each run looks a little bit different, which is telling us that it is still a little far out. It is still a little uncertain right now, but the fact is that this model here is continuous and showing that storm system here for right around March 5th and whatnot. Now, hopping over here to the Euro, or the ECMWF here, for the Zero Zulu run, as we approach our way here in towards March 4th, March 5th, you guys can see Euro actually suggesting that system here as well, and perhaps maybe that cold front may maybe driving some storm activity. And now the Euro doesn't really suggest as much snowfall, but once again, it's too early to be for sure at this moment. But from what we can tell is that several runs of the GFS has been showing the system here right around March 4th, March 5th. And even the European model, the ECMWF, is also agreeing on a system here. So between that, confidence, even though it's pretty far out, is pretty decent. So we'll definitely keep an eye out there for this system. Alrighty guys, so like we talked about, we do have that storm system down here in Florida that's currently driving a bit of rainfall. Like we mentioned, as we work our way down in time here, so first of all, this is the American GFS long-range model. So we work our way down in time, and according to GFS here in Eastern Canada, we have a very strong low-pressure system at this point. Perhaps the pressure being down into the 970 millibar range, which is a very, very strong non-tropical low. Like I said, we're off season for tropical systems. This is not a tropical cyclone, but it does have some similar characteristics, which will likely hold a lot of strong winds for some of the regions out there. But, you know, in general, there is going to be a lot of strengthening with the storm system as we work our way further down into the Atlantic. Now, in terms of the Euro, the ECMWF, there really isn't that much of a difference here. If anything, maybe even slightly stronger as comparing to what the GFS was suggesting there. So, you know, regardless, as this rain system rolls its way into the Atlantic, it will definitely be picking up a lot of strength. Alrighty guys, now lastly, the thing that I do want to talk about was those winds up there in the Pacific Northwest with that cyclone rolling through. Like we mentioned, it is going to be very, very windy here. So this is the GFS model, and as we approach our way here into early tomorrow, you can just see all of those winds battering the coastal areas here of both Oregon and Washington State up here, which will be very, very strong. Now, according to GFS, sustained winds of a good maybe 40 knots or so, which is roughly right around near 50 mile an hour sustained, with higher gusts around those coastal areas will be expected. So definitely is going to be some very, very strong winds along those coastal regions there. And because of this, we'll be having similar effect to like storm surge and hurricanes. Obviously, this is not a hurricane, this is not a tropical cyclone, but there is still that similar factor where some of that water will be pushed inland, which could cause some swelling along the coastline. So if you are there in coastal Oregon, coastal Washington, with this storm system that is going to be rolling through, we'll be driving a lot of strong winds. Once again, we're talking, you know, sustained winds of a good maybe 40, 50 plus miles an hour for some of those coastal regions there, with even higher gusts being quite expected there. But anyways, my friends, well, that's going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you guys did enjoy it, consider leaving a like and hitting that subscribe button. It'll be greatly appreciated. If you guys would like to help us fund for our new computer, like I said, we lost our old one, unfortunately, because, you know, I spilled a drink on it, of course. But if you guys would like to help us support, or if you guys would like to help support us, in the bottom right hand of your screen, we do have our Venmo and our Cash App. If you guys would like to help contribute, it'd be greatly appreciated. But once again, everybody, thank you so much for watching. You guys, please be safe out there. If y'all did enjoy it, once again, leave a like, hit that subscribe button, greatly appreciated. And all right, my friends, well, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, my friends. See ya later on.